Hey guys, it's Skybird here, and today we're doing something very different because if you guys aren't aware, today, recently, there was a video uploaded to the YouTube channel Copenhagen Rig, which is run by Faber. I don't know why I can't, like, his name is suddenly escaping me right now, but I wanted to go ahead and try to do some reverse engineering of some of the Rahi that were showcased in that video. This is the first time that we've seen a few of these Rahi. Others we have seen in the past, but not such high quality, or close up. So in this case, I would like to go ahead and just kind of try with an easy one to start with. We're going to try with the lime green and mata green terracotta. This actually starts with a kakama for the mask, which I like quite a bit. I have seen the prototype of the lime green kakama in the past as well, so I was aware that it existed. However, there were other kakamas in this video, including one that looked to be old dark gray, although I'm not quite sure with the lighting, and one that looked to be orange, which I was unaware of. Along with that, there was a Miru in the video that looked to be brown. That's not like a recolor or anything, or not a misprint, rather. Uh, I don't know. I'm using the wrong words. Not a prototype. But there was also like a milky white translucent Rao that looked quite interesting, along with a yellow Ruru, which again is one that we had known about. So for you guys, you should be able to see down in the bottom left-hand corner the image that I will be referencing. However, for me, that's in a separate window, so I will be opening and closing that just to kind of look back and forth. Now, right off the bat, I am starting this with a handful of parts I was able to identify. Could have done this on camera, of course. If that's something you'd like me to do on camera, you know, let me know. But it's a little bit tedious, so I want to go ahead and start with it now. Along with that, this is a piece that I custom modeled. So this is not actually in studio right now. Someone else has probably modeled it too. But it's two separate pieces, so you've got the head here and you can just color it to whatever you want. And it's fairly simple. I'm just going to call that a missile. Competition arrow, whatever you want to call it. All right. So right off the bat, there are at least 4 colors in this set. The obvious ones being the lime green as well as standard or mata green. But of course, you also have black and light gray, more heavily featured in this than in the final model. If you guys have seen or own the original terracotta, they do feature light gray rather than dark gray. In fact, all of the old Rahi, to a degree, kind of swap that base color palette. They play with it a little bit. So some have mostly black, some have black and dark gray. Sometimes they swap where it's dark gray and black. So just depending on which one is more prevalent. And in the terracotta's case, they use light gray. So let's go ahead and get started with this. I am going to start with the torso first because I think that's going to be the easiest part to design. And we're just going to go right in here. Now, I don't know which, let's see here. Right at the very bottom, you can see that we've got a bushing pin. For me, I should mention this is in the wrong location for you guys, but at the very bottom of the terracotta, you guys will see a small bushing pin, which we know is in the official model as well. It looks like this black pin is going to go right in the center here, and we are going to just do like that. Now, these, if you guys aren't aware, these are basically just like handle pieces for the terracotta specifically. Makes it a lot easier to hold in the hand, a lot more comfortable. And then we've got these pieces as well, which are 2x8 plates with some Technic holes in them. The holes don't actually feature in anything. They're just there, and they're nice to have. It's a Technic set, so it makes sense that most of the Technic, or rather the system pieces in the set, ooh, I hit the wrong button there, are going to be in kind of a specific order as well. So now I wasn't able to see in the picture. It looks as though the brick that's going to be at the base, let's go over a little bit because I have this just opened up in regular paint, nothing fancy going on here. But it looks like that's an axle that's going to be going all the way through the body. It's going through a connector here, a spring, 2 lift arms. I was able to tell that that was actually a 5 length lift arm and a 7 length lift arm. So that's 4 length right there, plus another brick there. So we're actually going to need a 10 long axle in here as well. So we're going to scroll down quite a bit to get to, this is probably right here. Yeah. To get to that axle, looks like we're only going to have one of those in the set, but we're going to go ahead and throw this on here, and I think it's 2 more plates if I remember right, and then this at the bottom. That should space everything out properly. All right, so right now I'm going to go ahead and just flip this on its side, make it a little easier to work with. We know at the base we're going to need these bushing pins. Sorry, that's in the wrong spot. At the base of the, let's just call it the tower, the body, right? We're going to need those bushing pins. Got something in my eye. And right here in the center is where we're going to need this. So this is where things are going to get a little more interesting. I believe we're going to need 2 more of these at the bottom here. Let's go ahead and check just to make sure. Yes, looks like it. Then we're going to need these 5 length lift arms here. I actually quite like the design of the terracotta body. I think it's a really, not quite a masterclass, but pretty close to it when it comes to building with both Technic and Technic bricks. Now, I want to see if any of these pieces here, so it's possible that these bottom ones, rather than being regular pins, are actually going to be 3 long pins. It's hard for me to tell in the picture, and I just don't know if like the fidelity is quite there, the detail is quite there, to know for sure. But we go ahead and flip this on its side, put both these in here, and we're pretty much good to go with that. So next up, we want to go ahead and add our springs in place. They've got the light gray end at the top here, and we're going to put that on both sides. And then we're going to grab 2 of these, and it looks like it's going to be facing down as well. Yeah. So we're going to add that in here as well. And thankfully, I spaced that out just right. Sometimes axles in Studio will kind of click into certain places, so that can help out quite a bit. And yeah, I got lucky this time. It worked. All right, next up, we're going to start working on the top. This is basically going to be 1-for-1 exactly like the actual terracotta sets. So if you guys aren't too familiar with those, the build is pretty straightforward. However, there might be some stuff going on here that's a little bit more intimidating. So I'll try to kind of keep an eye out. But at the very top, if we go ahead and take a look right in here, you can see that these are those kind of spaced out connectors. And there's actually some on the arm as well, which is identical to the official sets as well. So we're going to go ahead, definitely put that in the wrong spot, but it's fine. And throw these in here where we want them, right there. And this time we're actually going to take 7 length lift arms in light gray and throw them on here. So yeah, I accidentally updated Studio kind of recently, and for the most part have not been very happy with the update, but it did do one thing for me that I'm very happy about, and that is fixing an issue with cloning or duplicating pieces. So some pieces would duplicate when you'd scroll the screen and like start infinitely placing. So if I like had copy selected and I went to move around the screen like that, it would just copy it as I'm panning the screen. It was a horrible little thing, and thankfully that's something that they fixed. Now, if only they could fix all of the bugs they keep introducing in new updates, because it seems like with Studio, on the development side of things, a lot of the love goes into set pieces and not so much into like Bionicle pieces, right? So system pieces tend not to get affected too much by new updates, or when they are affected, it's usually for the better. Whereas Bionicle pieces, I've noticed, often kind of take the brunt of new updates. That's not always the case, of course. Sometimes pieces are fixed, or the opposite happens. And let's see here. Oh, come on. And system pieces are affected for the worst, but it usually works out in the other way, which is really unfortunate. All right, so lining up these arms is going to be tedious. I'm going to go ahead now, actually, and go ahead and put these pins in here too. All right, so next up, we're going to go ahead and just lower this. All right, good. And I'm going to go with a little over 45, I think. Right about one past 45, that's fine. One notch. That just makes it a little easier to remember. And then with these, we're going to have to kind of play this a little bit easier. Yeah, I don't think it's down quite far enough. So let's go ahead and get right about there. All right, so now we're going to want to, I could copy this, or I could just pull a new number 15 lift arm, which I think is what I'm going to do. That way it stays vertical rather than rotating. Although sometimes they rotate with the pins, which can get rather annoying. It can be helpful in some scenarios too. If you put the pin in place after you've rotated a lift arm a certain way, then it can help to align the lift arms, which is nice. But yeah, not in this case, no. All right, we're going to go back up with these a little bit, maybe one click. That also did not grab that, which is a little weird, but it happens. And we're going to do the same with these as well. Go up a little bit. I think we actually went too far down, and it did the same thing. So yeah, sometimes it just doesn't grab. But yeah, it's doing it again too. You can see. So I don't know why that just duplicated. I didn't have duplicate selected, I don't think, but it could have happened. Anyway, yeah, so we're going to go ahead, grab all of this, and try rotating again. And what I want to try and do is kind of eyeball where those are going to line up, which is not really anywhere closest. You can see, yeah, all right, so I'm running into issues with Studio grabbing certain things when I go to rotate them. So instead, I'm going to have to select everything independent and just hope that that's going to work. And it's not, because you can see it's not selecting this, which means it's not selecting this, which means it's not selecting the axle inside either. All right, so we're going to rotate things one at a time then. Yeah, sometimes Studio has lots of issues. We're going to go up 4. Do the same with this one. Oop. Right about there. Should be fine. And then do the same with this. Go up maybe 2. Yeah. Same with this one. All right. And as long as it gets me close, I don't need it to be perfect or anything. It's just rather annoying when things don't line up. Yeah. So it's not quite close enough. All right. We're going to go up more. This is the tedious part. Can you tell? We've spent probably the past 5 minutes adjusting the length of the arms and where they're located. All right. So we're going with this one again. That looks a lot closer. Not exact, but sure, I'll do. And then we could fine tune things later if we need to. But again, we're just kind of doing this for, tutorial purposes, if anything. So not too worried about it. One other pin that I need is this one right here. This should be, I think, spaced 6 apart. I do have the wrong color selected, but I would just change that. All right, I could change that based on the color because it was a dark bluish gray, or I could change it just based on the pin, but I don't have anything else dark bluish gray in here, so ideally I would have done this and attached these to the arm first and then put them in a submodel, but I did not, because I'm very goofy and silly. All right, right there. Close enough. All right, so now what we want to do is we want to start building up the head. So the head does have some differences that I was able to see, although for the most part it looks pretty normal. I could see an axle going through there, so that's going to be a 6 long axle, um, and this light gray connector here. That connector could be one of two things, but assuming that since the rest of the set uses this connector here, and I believe the official sets use this connector as well, that's probably what it's going to end up being. LEGO usually doesn't like to add connectors if they don't appear elsewhere in the set, just because of cost, right? It's cheaper to have multiples of one mold than it is to have 2 separate molds in a lot of cases. This was actually black as far as I could tell. So we're going to go ahead and throw it right there. Next, if it will stop grabbing, don't know what it's grabbing either, is we're going to, nope, okay, it's not going to stop. Come on, stop snapping. I have issues with the way that Studio handles snapping in certain places too. I do wish, in many cases, all right, here's what we're going to do. We're going to take this pin out of here for a second. Then we're going to go ahead and do that. And now we'll just throw that pin back in here. And that means this is probably actually not a 2 long pin, but rather a 3 long pin, because that would go into this and reinforce it. So now we're going to go ahead and add both of these in here. And don't know if those are going to be light gray or black. Looks like those are going to be light gray pins, because you'll see, so in the middle of the pin, you have a little bit of a stopper kind of built into it, right? And when you plug ribbed hoses into them, that stopper will actually show. And so if you have a ribbed hose on there and you see a little black ring going around, it means there's a black pin in there. When I look, I don't see any black ring. And I actually see a little bit of gray even protruding slightly, which tells me that's very likely going to be frictionless pins. All right, next up, someone is mowing again, so you might hear that. I say again because we live next to somebody who mows like almost every day. So that's a little bit, tedious. But anyway, go ahead and do this. I'm going to throw both of these on here. This piece actually confused me at first. This is actually pretty similar right now to how it's built in the official set. But when I was first looking, I actually saw the image from this angle here, and you can only see one of them. So at first I thought, well, it's in the middle, but that wouldn't make sense, because if you see these L-shaped lift arms that are right here, you can tell that they're only spaced apart with one space in between them, which in this case is connected to the lever piece that's connected to the head. So that tells me whatever's between them has to be one module thick. So it can't be this, because this has to be inside of something, and it's not in that. So that tells me that these are on the edges. Obviously, once you look at other pictures, then you can see it from other angles. You need to do this with magnifying glass, because just regular paint is not good at letting you scroll. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and actually put them on the opposite side here. This is a relatively straightforward build. It does have green tubes and red eyes. I'm actually kind of surprised that LEGO ended up going with silver tubes in the official set, because they had been using colored tubes a lot. I don't mind it. I think you can, I know you can get tubes in blue, though I don't know at what lengths they're restricted to. And I'm pretty sure you can get them in, actually I know you can get them in the old teal color as well. The old, what's that color called? Dark turquoise? That's it. All right, now let's go ahead and take a look around here, see if we can see anything else from this. So from here, we can see the arm connection, one pinhole, two pinhole. So right here, where this little bit of gray is flashing through, that's where this is placed, which means there's one, two. So that is a 3 long lift arm, I think. If we look at this picture, you can see that there is a pinhole here. So it's either a 3 long lift arm or it's a 4 long light gray lift arm, and it goes back 2 spaces. Now I see what looks to be an axle going through behind here. I can't tell for sure if that's a empty pinhole there or if that is an axle, because I can see an empty pinhole next to it. It looks like this one's filled in. So this could go either way. I'm not sure, because it could be one of 3 pieces. It could be this, it could be this, which was a fairly common piece, especially back in the early 2000s. So I'm gonna go with this, with my gut, although I don't know that this is correct. And we're going to assume it's this piece. Now the reason I put it there first is to actually align it with the lift arm, but it's actually gonna go here. We're gonna do the same thing, line it, and then go back. And right there looks just about perfect. That would mean that that is a 4 length lift arm, which I have not yet seen anywhere else in this set. So it's possible this is not here. It's also not correctly aligned, so we're going to throw it up there first. Sometimes that happens too. All right, and now we're ready to finish this head build. So go with, you know what? We are incorrect here, actually. This could still be the correct piece, but they actually have to go in the opposite position. And the reason is because we have another lift arm put on here. So we're going to put it there. These aren't quite lined up. That can be a bit difficult with Studio. Like I said, the snapping is rather weird. But yeah, we have to put these lift arms on it. We have to account for that. So, for this here first, I'm gonna, right there. There we go. And then try to align this a little bit better. All right, next, right there. And all right, now we are ready to go ahead and add this axle in. Add this. And then try and figure out how the claws are mounted. So one of the interesting pieces in this set, or at least in this prototype, is actually the light gray Onua claws here. So that is definitely using a 3 long axle. I'm actually, yeah, 3 long axle there. Plus there are thin bushings, which probably means, all right, Studio is officially froze. That happens a lot. What's going on here? There it goes. Sometimes it just stops responding on its own. Also rather annoying. All right, so let's go ahead and grab one of those now that we have it. And grab this. Put that in here. And that's one thing that gets me too about the official build for the Terracotta, because if I remember right, one of them has jaws that are loose, while the other one's jaws are more fixed in place or have like friction, which I always found a little bit interesting. I do really appreciate that they have 2 different head builds, because it adds to the, well, uniqueness of both sets. The Terracotta are one of the more different between the 2. I don't know exactly how I'd want to phrase that, but whereas some Rahi, especially the cheaper ones, are essentially carbon copies, just recolored. The Nui Rama, the only piece that's different is the mouthpiece. On one is a claw, while on the other it's a hook. A hook and a claw in both colors is available, so you can switch that around if you want. The Nui Jaga however, are both exactly identical to each other. All right, so we're gonna go in with, oh, cool, that one aligned. So now we're just gonna take that. This one, since it's self-aligned, and go ahead and put it there. All right, now next up we need to do what is probably going to be this right here, and well, I was hoping that would align too, but it didn't. That's all right. Should be able to align this pretty easily. One more. There we go. All right. I'm actually not sure if these come in any shades of green, but I know these pieces do actually come in lime now. So, and I believe these are actually going to be fixed in place from this angle. Although I might have them backwards. Now I think about it. I do. Yeah. So you can see they actually kind of pivot forward a little bit right here. So you can see the pins are connected back here, and then it runs forward. So we're actually going to, let's say, flip it just like that. And then we'll just copy it over because it's identical on both sides. Right there. And then let me also check. Yep, it goes on the top. And last I want to check the orientation of this piece. So this is actually a prototype version of these panels. You can tell because it's actually sharp here rather than cutting off at that angle. I don't know when Lego had introduced panels to Technic, but I do know with this and with like not Robo Riders. Which one was it? One of the other prototypes, the Voodoo Island prototype, also used a cut lift arm. So these were very likely prototyped well before they made their appearance in Bionicle, meaning that Bionicle was being worked on for quite a longer amount of time. So, go ahead. Actually, I'm going to grab 2 more of these. And you see the build for the Terracotta is actually fairly simple and straightforward. It's just the tediousness of having it on studio that makes things a little more difficult. Now we're going to bend it forward, maybe about 45 degrees or so. We don't know exactly how far it's going to be. Probably a lot less than that. In fact, let me, while I have it like this, I'll just rotate it by eye. Just kind of go out there. I think that's fine. All right. And we do have these rubber band ball pins, toe pins, whatever you want to call them. They need to go into the arms. All right. So one looks like it's one pinhole down from the arm connector. This one is 3 pinholes up from the base, it looks like. I don't know if that's 3. I think that's 3. So we're just going to go with that. So right here and right there, although it didn't exactly put itself in the proper spot. Same spot here, right there, and if I can get it in. There you go. All right, so this should be roughly the right spot, almost horizontal in this. And yeah, that looks about right here. All right, now the hard part is going to be the treads, because I don't believe these pieces exist. Also can't tell the exact length of tubing they use here, although you can do some very basic math to figure that out. Just visual math, like you don't have to actually count anything. And same kind of thing for these. These are actually probably the same length as what had appeared in the blue Terracotta, since it's basically the same build. Or no, sorry, not blue. No, it is the blue one. Yeah, they just changed this is basically like a combination of the blue and the green Terracotta heads in a way, because it has that. So the way I describe the Terracotta is the blue one is the smooth design, the green one is the rough design, right? What I mean by that is at the top of both models, there's a lot more sharp angles on the, I keep calling it green, but the teal one, that when you look at the blue one, all of those pieces are represented with like really smooth panels. The panels on the head are just kind of go smoothly across. Even the mask, the Picari is a relatively rounded mask overall, whereas the Kakama has more sharp angles right? However, when they get to the treads, that trend swaps, right? So the blue one actually gets the sharper design for the treads. The teal one ends up getting a smoother design overall with panels at the base. So I find that really cool. Very easily could swap those two facts out. You know, if you wanted the green or the teal one to have a rough base, I believe all the parts exist except for maybe the maybe this lift arm in dark turquoise. I don't know if that exists, but as far as I'm aware, all of the other pieces should be there. So let's go ahead and take a look at this. Right away, I can tell that this is going to be a 3 wide tread, 5 wide at the anchor points. I'm pointing at the screen. You guys can't see that. But so right here is 5 wide, meaning that these are connecting at 7 wide. So that means this... Would that axle be a 7 long axle? In black? That would be a 7 long axle. Huh. That's surprising. Right? Because I don't think that could be 2 axles on side by side. Would that be a 7 long axle? I think that might be. That's surprising. I don't believe that Lego ever made 7 length axles in black. I believe they started in 2003 when light gray came along. So I'm going to go with that axle as a 7 length axle. However, I'm going to change its color so it stands out. I'm going to change it to blue. And we're going to go with... no, it's not a 7 length axle then. Because it has to be a full bushing that goes to that. So it is an 8 length axle. Interesting. Okay, so that would mean that my math is incorrect. On the inside, everything is 1 wider. So the base here, that would be, what, 2 wheel pieces side by side? See, the problem I run into is I can't actually tell what piece these wheels down here are. They look like they could be pulleys, and this tread looks like a very early version of the Muwaka and Kanera tread, just a different length. And I don't know if Lego made those longer and shorter. I know that they made them in more than 1 length, but I don't know if they ever were this large. And these wheels, what are these wheels? Because my thought is pulley. Like that's my mind jumps to first. However, these holes in here look to be smaller than pinholes. It does look like there's a horizontal line through it too, though. Maybe those are pulleys. Man, that's tough. It's hard to tell. I really don't know. Yeah, I've upped the contrast on it to try and see a little bit better. Man, it's really hard to tell. The only other thing I can think of is it could be a pulley wheel. I think we run into another problem if it's a pulley too, actually. Let me test this real quick. We're gonna grab this right here. Oop, hold on. Just like that. And there we go. So, it could be pulleys without the rubber tire on it. Do I not have any regular bushings on here? Alright, there we go. Also, by the way, these are bushings that exist that I like to use sometimes because they have an interesting texture with that middle ring on them. They hold a little bit better on axles because of it too. Although I think they might only come in red, so that's a little limiting. But they're fun. Alright. So let's go ahead and just assume for a second that it is a pulley. If it is a pulley, then I don't think that it can have the rubber wheels around the outside of it. I thought I was seeing them. Let's go ahead and... Oop, that's the wrong length. Go with this right here. Alright. So I thought I could see the actual rubber wheels in the picture. And I'll show you why here in just a second. So, actually, I'm going to go into this for a second. It's easier to... So right here, you can see what looks like it's kind of rounded over a little bit. In the last picture, you can even see, at least to me, what looks like a little bit of a shine. Now, it's not as obvious here because I've adjusted the contrast and stuff. But man, it is possible that those are just the two wheels. I'm seeing them at this angle. It's possible. Or it's possible this is just a unique piece in general. So we're going to go with this, and I'm just going to put a bushing between here for now. It's probably not correct, but I don't think there's any way that we can really know what goes on there. So... And let's go ahead and see. All right, so we need an axle, 6-length axle, going through right here. All right, and then we're gonna need a pin, at least one, going here and here probably. I'm gonna grab this. I think. Oop. With a little bit of delay on my end, so throw me off a little bit. Should do it right about there. All right, and then I'll adjust the length of this. All right, get over. Make sure that it cooperates. All right, there we go. And let's see if the top is an axle that goes across. No, it's not. Okay, so it's frictionless pins. And the reason I don't have frictionless axle pins, or rather, the reason I don't have black friction axle pins in here is because they weren't around yet in 2001, or in 1999, or 98, or 97, you know, so on. Alright, so let's go ahead and I think right about there. A little too far. Okay, gonna take that off for a second. Move this one. That's pretty close. All right, let's go ahead and get rid of that and throw this one on here. Oop. Did I just pull it? I just did. Yeah, that's fine. All right, so I think that's going to work for that. Now, we've got 2 of these, and these are going to be black. The interesting thing I've noticed about this set is that it is using parts in multiple colors. For one, this 7-length lift arm appears in both black and light gray. These appear in black and light gray, rather than using parts in different colors. So, also light gray pins down here, which confirms my earlier theory. Just gonna go with 2 of those. And so lastly, yeah, so that wheel is going to be up there. All right. We're going to go with this, and this. Oop, nope, don't do that. Plug it right in there. Put one of these on both sides. All right. So that should do for that, and then it goes to right there. Although we have to make sure we align it properly. Without, yeah, that should be about right. Fix the axle length. I think that's basically it. We do have the tubes to go still, and we also have these crankshaft pieces. Which is how I search those, because that's much easier to find. Don't believe these are recolored. They look like they are yellow in pictures. Like that looks like it's a different shade. So, and again, prototype. Plus, we know that they were left yellow in the official models, probably because the actuator on these is a little less obvious than it is on some of the other sets, so they want it to kind of stand out. Also, probably a reason why they didn't choose a color like lime that could very easily be confused with yellow for anybody who struggles with color perception or etc. All right, so last thing we need, if I can get it in here, two things really, is stud pins in old light gray, trans red, studs. They'll go on the end of that. And then now it's time for the hoses. So I'm going to go ahead and check real quick the length. Yeah. The length of the hoses used for the Terracotta. This one right here. That will at least tell me. I think it's multiple lengths. The 9s. Okay. So let's go ahead and do 9L. Yeah. But it looks like these struggle to attach to pins sometimes. There we go. I also think that the model should be fixed for these a little bit, but so we're gonna try. That's 10. Getting closer to. I don't know if that's gonna be 12 or not. I think that might be a little bit shorter. There we go. There we go. Right in here. Yeah, I think it's a little bit shorter than that. That looks pretty long. Let me yeah, it's more of a straight connection. So this is a 12. Let's try 10s. I think that might be a little too short, but it's possible. Oh, hold on. All right, let's get it on here. Let it do its thing to straighten out a little bit. I think that's good. Now we're gonna do the same thing again, but on this side. And this is another thing I think Studio could handle better, is the attachment of flexible pieces and just more flexible pieces in general, because a lot of them aren't actually flexible pieces that are supposed to be, which can get to be rather annoying. So, let's see if okay, did fix that. So, nah, not exactly. All right. No, I don't know where it's going. No, it's trying to attach to that. Okay. So what we're gonna do is we're actually gonna duplicate these very quick, and then I'm gonna try and position these separately. Oop, let's go ahead and that up right there, and go in with them. So over. Right there. I think that's pretty good. Right about there. That looks pretty perfect. All right. Now I'm going to move them forward a little bit. Oh, there. Tilt this down. There we go. Put that down. And then connect it to that. This will probably take a second. So we're not gonna do it like that. We're gonna move these a little bit further forward. So that way these have more distance to travel. That way they try to straighten out a little bit better, although it's still not really straightening. So I might swap these for a different length, even though it's probably not accurate. I'm going to go ahead and swap them for 8s and see if that works. Because I don't want the eyes sticking out too far. They don't stick out that far in the official model. I'm going to set these aside. I'm going to put these on here instead. And again. Oh, hold on. There we go. So we give that a little bit of time, it'll kind of straighten itself out. It does not have to be perfect. So that's about good right there. And these are going to be the same color as well, which is going to help just with the clipping, just making it a little less obvious. You could let this sit for a few minutes and it'll slowly straighten out, although I don't think it'll ever get perfect. And then we'll just color these to green. Now we'll grab this, copy it, and throw it in here. Probably have to move it back manually because sometimes it just does not work. But yeah, I think that's good enough. Go ahead and erase that, and this is where we're at. I think we're done. I don't see kickstand on this at all, which is something that the official model would later gain and is beneficial. But outside of that, I think we're pretty good. So that's pretty much going to be it for this video. If you guys did enjoy this video, make sure to leave a like and a subscribe for the channel. Of course, if you guys want to check out more stuff like this or other things that I do, you can check out my links in the description below, Discord, things like that. And I'll see you all in the next one. Take care.